In today's video, we're going to continue our NHL Prospect Review series, and today we're taking a look at the upstart Colorado Avalanche, and that's coming up next. So welcome back here to Top Shelf Hockey. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to be discussing who I think are the top 5 prospects for the Colorado Avalanche. Now, the Avalanche certainly have a very deep prospect pool and certainly have one of the better young teams around the NHL already, and they have that much more talent on the way, which could really make them a powerhouse here in the short time years to come. When determining the order here of this prospect ranking system, I certainly factored in multiple things. Not only did I look at what their NHL upside would be and how much impact they would have, but I also factored in when they would more than likely be making their NHL debut, or at least getting into the NHL on a regular basis here. Obviously, I'm kind of going by impact as well as what their upside is, so it's a combination of the two. Now, you're going to notice as I go through each prospect here, they're going to each have their own slide with their personal biographical information as well as some recent statistics. All that information came from a website called eliteprospects.com. It's a tremendous resource here, and I highly recommend you check it out. Now, let's dive into the top 5 prospects for the Avalanche. Now, first up here, we've got Shane Bowers. Now, Shane Bowers was drafted by the Ottawa Senators originally back in 2017, was a first-round selection. He was acquired in the Matt Duchene trade from the Ottawa Senators to the Avalanche here. After being drafted, Bowers went and played college hockey for Boston University. Had a terrific first season, played a lot with Brady Tkachuk. They were quite a 1-2 combo. But after that, in year 2, with Tkachuk going off to the NHL, Bowers certainly did not perform quite as well. His numbers were down a little bit. He didn't have a bad year, but you could certainly see the impact of not having Tkachuk there on his wing. He's a really smart center iceman who's really quick as well. Can be dangerous offensively. Got a pretty solid two-way game. In the most recent World Junior Championships here in early 2019, had a chance to play for Team Canada. Had a pretty solid tournament overall. Mostly played in a checky role, had a chance to kill penalties, which really showed how strong his two-way game should be here. Bowers most likely plays an AHL season here before getting much of an NHL opportunity. Given where the Avalanche roster is at and all the moves they've made this offseason, I really don't see Bowers making the team out of training camp, but he certainly has a bright future, and a year of seasoning in the American Hockey League should do him a lot of good to try to make the jump to the NHL here, hopefully in the near future. Next up, we have defenseman Conor Timmons, who was a 2017 second-round selection. Unfortunately for Timmins, he missed all of last season after suffering a concussion. Really took him the whole year to recover and get things back on track. Now, near the end of last season, he technically was available to the Avalanche and could have played if need be, but considering how much time he had missed, there really wasn't much point considering where everything was at with their depth and their roster and everything at the time. But he is healthy again and is ready to resume playing. He will be at training camp and is expected to rival here for a roster spot, just like he was last year before the injury took place. Now, Conor Timmons is a really solid two-way defenseman, has a really solid offensive game as well, but he's strong on his own end to boot. Timmons is a terrific skater, great puck mover, and was nearly a point-per-game defenseman in the OHL over his final 2 years of junior. In 2018, he played for Team Canada at the World Junior Championships and was voted as one of the top 3 players of the tournament for his team. He had a tremendous tournament and really showed at that point amongst all his peers at the same age at the World Juniors that he was a standout defenseman. So this Avalanche team is absolutely blessed with young defending talent here, and he's just the tip of the iceberg as we're going to get some of the more top talent here later in this list. Next up, we've got Martin Kaut, who was our 2018 first-round selection. He spent his first pro season playing in the American Hockey League last year. It was looking like in training camp last year that he might get an opportunity to start the season with Colorado, but was a late cut in training camp. It was sent down to the Eagles team in the American Hockey League. He put up 26 points in 63 games. You could certainly tell that he was having a hard time making the adjustment here to the pro game in the American Hockey League level. Got off to a decent start, then kind of fizzled out a little bit, but he certainly still has a lot of upside. I think another year will do him a lot of good, and he very well might get some limited opportunities with the Avalanche this year. Certainly a possibility, but he projects to be like a middle six type of forward. He can be a center iceman, but he's mostly been playing wing as of late. He's a pretty solid, reliable two-way game with decent offensive abilities. He's a really smart player. He's got a good size. Just needs a little bit more time to adjust to pro hockey here in North America to really bring that offensive game out. The last couple World Junior Championships playing for Czech Republic, he's He's had some tremendous tournaments. Playing with guys like Filip Zadina and Martin Necas has really had a chance to stand out at that level. So I know the offensive ability is there, just a matter of bringing it out at the pro level here. So a little bit more seasoning and he should be good to go. Hopefully have an impact on this team in the short term. Next up, we've got Alex Newhook, the newly drafted 2019 draft selection here by the Colorado Avalanche, taken at number 16 overall. He will be going to Boston College this coming fall, so he will be probably at least 1 or 2 years away from making his NHL debut. So he'll be playing for Boston College. But he's a terrific playmaker who led the BCHL in scoring and can finish in a variety of ways. Newhook has incredible speed, dangerous hands, good hockey sense, and he's equally deadly with the pass as he is with the shot, which makes him a dual threat coming down the ice here, especially on the rush. He's also pretty solid defensively given his age as well, so he does project to be a top 6 forward right now, at least at the NHL. We'll see how his progression goes into the college game, and then from there, see if he can jump to the NHL or he may need time in the American Hockey League here. But I think Alex Newhook is just a little bit more of a dynamic forward than you're going to get out of Shane Bowers or Martin Kaut. So I think longer term, his upside's a little bit higher, and he very well might not make the NHL as quickly as them, given the fact that he's going through the college hockey route here. But Newhook is a tremendous talent. The fact that the Avalanche had 2 first-round selections, that certainly put them to good use here in 2019 and added a couple more top-notch prospects here to their already solid prospect pool. Next up, we've got the number 4 overall selection from the 2019 draft, defenseman Bowen Byram, who certainly projects like he could be a 1 or 2 defenseman at the NHL level. He's an explosive skater who can act as a one-man breakout. He blends his acceleration and north-south speed with lateral edge work that's absolutely tremendous. His puck skills really stand out as well. Given the fact that Byram likes to join the rush and really join in on the offense, really makes him a threat against the other team, that they really need to be aware of where he's at on the ice, because he's always dangerous to make an offensive play. He's a pretty strong two-way game as well, has a healthy amount of grit in his game considering he's not overly big, but his skating and passing the puck up the ice is by far his biggest strength. Certainly projects like he could be a terrific defenseman on the power play at the NHL level as well. And when you combine him with who we're going to put down here as the number 1 overall prospect coming up here, this Avalanche blue line should be one of the best in the NHL here in the short term. It's not quite clear what Byram's immediate future is going to hold, and whether or not he goes back to the WHL or has an opportunity to make this team in a training camp. I would think he probably needs a little bit more seasoning in the junior leagues, but I guess we'll see here. I know they don't want to rush too many of their young defensemen at one time. The Avalanche has made it clear they kind of want to stagger a lot of these guys getting into the NHL here. But with the trade of Tyson Barrie earlier this summer, that certainly creates some opportunities here for some of the young guys to really step up. Now, in case you haven't noticed, we've already covered 5 Avalanche prospects, but they just have so many good ones. I'm actually putting 6 in this video here. The number 1 top prospect for the Avalanche, which will not surprise anybody, is defenseman Cale Makar. So along with Bowen Byram, they have 2 guys here that project to be top paired defensemen. Now, Makar had an opportunity to get into some NHL games this past year at the end of the year and into the playoffs, and he looked absolutely phenomenal. His pairing with Samuel Girard was fantastic. They're both really quick out there. Cale Makar's got incredible speed, great offensive instincts, and really is no doubt this team's future number 1 defenseman. But like I said, when you throw Bowen Byram into the mix here, they could rival each other for being the team's top defenseman. And when you look at Conor Timmons, Samuel Girard, this team is stacked with young defensive talent and are going to have a powerhouse blue line here for many years to come. Cale Makar's skating ability really stands out. He's incredibly quick. He's got lots of offensive moves. Great on the power play. Just an absolutely real gem all-around solid defenseman here. This Avalanche team is incredibly lucky. After he played 2 years of college hockey, he signed his entry-level contract, got his feet wet at the end of last year, and now he's ready for prime time. And I fully expect Makar to possibly rival for the Calder Trophy for the coming season. So those are your top prospects here for the Avalanche. As I said, I had a hard time narrowing it down to just 5. Now, of course, as well, they also have some other young players who I didn't really consider prospects who've had a fair bit now of NHL experience, like Kamenev and AJ Greer. They're certainly still young enough that you could consider them prospects, depending on what level of experience you want to include here. So this Avalanche team is certainly well stacked for the future. They have a lot of great young defenders, some great young forwards. They got Philip Grubauer in the net, who's still young enough to be their goalie of the future here. This team is well positioned to be an absolute powerhouse for a long time. Even if you look at their veteran forwards, for example, like McKinnon and Rantanen and Landeskog, they're still really, really young as well. So even their top players that are already all-stars, putting up awesome numbers, getting paid the big bucks here, that are the veterans, are still really young. Like, this team is so well positioned. Joe Sakic has done an incredible job. I know a couple of years ago, but before Matt Duchene was traded, many people were really on him, saying how terrible it was and how long he took to make that trade, and he really drug it on. But you know what? Look at the deal he ended up getting. What he received in that deal will be impacting this team for many years to come, including the first round pick that they just grabbed here with Bowen Byram. Of course, they got Shane Bowers, as I mentioned in this video, and there was other pieces like Kamenev came over in that deal from the Nashville side of things in a three-way trade as well. So like, he really did get a king's ransom in that trade, and has done a terrific job setting this team up here for the future. So, of course, as always, want to hear your thoughts, your opinions on the Avalanche prospects. Let me know which ones you're most excited about and which ones will have the most impact on this franchise for years to come. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and turning on your notification bell so you don't miss any future content. Of course, we still have plenty of teams to cover in this prospect pool series, as well as all the other news from around the NHL. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you next time.